Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating part of the Wars of Light and Darkness. We're talking chapter 13, From Out of the North. We're going to break down how this book presents Jesus' final journey to Jerusalem, not just as a pilgrimage, but as a full-on strategic mission. So the book kicks things off with this powerful prophecy from Malachi. The Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple. Right from the get-go, this sets the stage, doesn't it? It's framing this whole event as a dramatic, almost shocking confrontation with the temple establishment. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to trace this journey from the north, look at this Essene safe haven, follow the march to Jerusalem, and then dive into the assault on the temple, the war of words that followed, and this whole idea of the rejected cornerstone. Let's get into it. Right, so first up, From Out of the North. The story picks up with Jesus and his disciples leaving Galilee. Now, on the surface, they're heading to Jerusalem for Passover, like so many others. But this is, well, it's anything but an ordinary trip. This is the Endgame. And you gotta understand, the situation was tense. Herod Antipas, the guy Jesus called that fox, saw him as a massive threat. He was literally hunting him down. So this journey isn't just about faith, it's a high-stakes move, deep into enemy territory. So to get away from Herod, Jesus finds a safe haven in a place called Trachonitis. And this is where the Wars of Light and Darkness points out something crucial. This area was known as an old Essene refuge, the Wilderness of Damascus, and believe me, this detail is going to be super important for everything that happens next. Which brings us to the big question. Who exactly were the Essenes? Well, they were a Jewish sect from that time, but with some pretty unique beliefs. And here's the kicker. The book argues that the teachings Jesus gave while he was in this refuge, they line up perfectly with core Essene ideas. Okay, check this out. When you put the teachings side by side, it's pretty stunning. On divorce, Jesus takes the strict Essene line against remarriage. He even uses the same proof text from their Damascus Document. Same goes for his teachings on celibacy and poverty. They totally mirror Essene beliefs. The book makes a strong case that this isn't just a coincidence. It's a deliberate defense of Essene ideas against the Pharisees. All right, Passover is getting close, and it's time to move. Jesus leaves the safety of the north and starts heading south to Jerusalem. But this isn't just a walk in the park. The book frames this journey through the Jordan Valley as something much darker, a descent into the valley of the shadow of death. And the landscape itself tells the story here. Think about it. He's physically walking down into the Syrian-African rift, the lowest point on the entire planet. It's this desolate place that the book connects to the biblical pit, or the abyss. So it's like he has to go down into this symbolic hell before he can rise up to the holy city. And it's on this very trip that he starts revealing to his inner circle what the Wars of Light and Darkness calls the mysteries of the Son of Man. He's basically giving them the whole roadmap, the betrayal, the condemnation, the crucifixion, the resurrection, all of it. But, and this is a huge but, the Gospels tell us the disciples just didn't get it. The words were veiled to them. So when he finally gets to Jerusalem, he doesn't sneak in. No way. The triumphal entry is this massive public event. And the book argues this wasn't just a parade. It was a calculated opening salvo in a showdown. He's seizing the initiative, putting the temple priests on their back foot right from the start. And what's his first move? A full-on assault on the temple's business operations. He goes in and starts flipping tables. Now, the book argues this isn't just a flash of anger, it's something very specific called Phoenician Zealotry. That's a deep cut from the Old Testament, referring to this idea of righteous, even violent, action to cleanse the faith of corruption. So you see, this was way more than just flipping tables. It was a three-pronged attack. First, it was a direct hit to the wallet of the corrupt priestly family of Anan. Second, it was that symbolic act of zealotry we just talked about. And third, by stopping people from carrying vessels through the court, he was imposing a super strict Essene purity rule, basically declaring their whole temple operations spiritually contaminated. Okay, so the physical assault is done. Now the conflict shifts gears. It becomes a war of words, a battle of wits. The chief priests are, as you can imagine, absolutely furious, and they come out to confront him head-on. And they get right to it. They basically say, "Who do you think you are? By what authority are you doing all this?" I mean, they're the ones in charge of the temple, and they're challenging his right to even be there, let alone cause such a scene. It's a direct shot at his legitimacy. But this is where his strategy just shines. Instead of answering them directly, he flips the whole thing on its head with a brilliant counter-question about John the Baptist.
He asks them if John's baptism was from heaven or from men. And just like that, he's put them in a political checkmate. They're trapped.
And this wasn't just a clever trick to win an argument. The book makes a really key point here. John's baptism was an Essene rite. It was a way to get forgiveness for sins that had nothing to do with the temple sacrifices. So by asking this question, Jesus was forcing the priests to confront a rival system, one from heaven, that made their entire temple operation, which they claimed was the only way, look like it was just of men. And then he takes it up another notch. He tells the parable of the wicked vine dressers. And this is where the gloves really come off. He's drawing the battle lines clear as day. You don't need a decoder ring for this one. The parable is a crystal clear allegory. The vineyard is the kingdom of God. Jesus is painting himself as the landowner's son, the rightful heir. And the wicked vine dressers who kill the son to steal the inheritance? Well, that's the chief priests. And they knew it. The text says they knew he was talking about them. He was calling them out as usurpers, right to their faces. And then, for the finishing blow, right after the parable, he hits them with this quote from Psalm 118. The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This is the theological mic drop. This metaphor is the absolute climax of his argument. And wouldn't you know it, this ties everything back to the Essenes. See, they had this idea, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, of a spiritual temple of men. The true temple wasn't made of stone in Jerusalem. It was a community of people, living stones. So according to the Wars of Light and Darkness, Jesus is saying, I am the cornerstone of this new spiritual temple. And you priests, you're the builders of the old corrupt system. And you just rejected me, the very foundation of what's coming next. So let's just pause and think about this for a second. The source material is asking us to reframe this entire story. It poses this question. If Jesus' primary battle was a direct, strategic assault on the corrupt temple authority itself, how does that completely reshape the story of his final days? It turns it from a passive walk toward destiny into a deliberate, revolutionary act. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like and subscribe button for more like this. And if you want to go deeper or get the full volume for yourself, the link is right there for you in the description.